oven of grace. Dear friends, this is a symbol, and it is also a reality for your own energy of grace. Now, we ask each of you to take, individually, to take a challenging situation that you have in your own personal life that does not involve other people, but your own situation, whether it is one of abundance, whether it is one of perhaps just general fear, whether it is one of health, whether it is one of loneliness. And we ask you to take a moment here and think of a situation that has been challenging you lately. To think of something that symbolizes this situation. Perhaps if this is an abundance issue, it could be your own purse or checkbook or wallet. If it is about your health, perhaps it could be a picture, a snapshot of you. But think now of a symbol that represents the challenging situation. We're going to ask you to put this symbol of your challenge in that oven. We ask you to say nothing, to have no intent, to say no words, to have no energy behind this, to say no prayer. When you initially begin working with this tool of grace in your life, use it only for yourself. We ask you also to only put one issue, one challenge, one concept in at a time. We saw some of you trying to put everything in there. While you learn to use the oven of grace, only one issue at a time. We also ask you to keep this issue, this challenge and situation in there for a period of 24 hours of your time. Taylor, her purse, represented the abundant issues that she was struggling with at the time. And she put it in there without agenda. Do you understand? Dear friends, without agenda. Oh, we know you've been used to praying, and you've been used to incantations and intent and agenda, and these have been good, and they have been filled with love, and it has brought you to this point. But dear friends, we are going to a new place now. In the oven of grace, there is no need for intent. It takes care of itself. About a week after Taylor put her purse in the oven of grace and allowed it to cook overnight, she lost her job. Don't you know? And she wondered, as some of you may wonder, what is going on. But she also trusted in grace, and she knew that the job that she had was indeed a hindrance to her abundance. It kept her tied down. It provided other experiences for her that were no longer appropriate. And one of those experiences that it provided was abundance limitation. So when she placed her pocketbook in the oven of grace, surely it changed her job. While this brought some fear to her initially, thinking that all abundance had been taken away instead of having limited abundance, she took that fear that she had of this situation, she took that fear of not trusting, and one night put it in the oven of grace and allowed grace to handle her own fear of what she was going through. And as she did this, with new situation after new situation, she in effect allowed divine grace to find the appropriate balance and resolution. In effect, dear friends, Taylor learned to trust herself. She was not turning this over to an angel or a guide or to spirit. She was allowing the fulfillment within her own being. It would have been difficult for Taylor to have tried to create all of this through the mind, much as it would have been difficult for Taylor to eat food and try to think of how it is processed within her body. She simply eats food and allows it to be. That is a digestive grace that takes place. And in the same form, dear friends, when you place something in your oven of grace, it takes care of itself. There is a natural balance. There is a natural fulfillment that takes place in this new energy.
In your everyday human life, you run into issues, problems, maybe a money problem, maybe a deciding what to do next in your life problem, maybe a relationship issue, whatever it is, self-worth or anything. And your mind is a certain way of thinking about it. Your mind is in that pattern that we showed before, in that mesmerizing pattern. And your mind will go round. Let's put that up again for just a moment. Your mind will go round and round and round and round inside that pattern, looking for a solution to, let's say, a relationship issue that you're having. Should you stay with a partner or not? What are the consequences? What are the financial implications? Will he or she get upset? Will he or she threaten or even commit suicide? Will he or she say bad things about you to other people because he or she knows all your dirty little secrets and bad habits? So you see, suddenly you're in this whole issue, this whole mesmerizing focus, mind focus, mental focus, trying to figure out the relationship issue, what to do. You go back and forth with it. You're getting more miserable every day. You can't stand this person that you're living with, but you dare not tell them that you don't love them anymore. You wonder what to do, what to do, what to do. That's when you stop and take a deep breath and you push the Alt button. And then get the hell out of your way. See, Alt is not connected to the brain. Alt does not go into the mesmerizing pattern or into focus. Alt opens up a whole new level of solutions for you, no matter what it is. Big issues, little issues, anything in your life. If you are having a challenge right now, well, what are you going to do next in your life? You want this thing, the embodied mastery, but you know that the job doesn't serve you anymore. You're not getting anywhere with it, but you need it to pay the bills. And you're back in the pattern here. And you're trying to figure out, how do I get out of that job? How do I get out of that situation to have enough money to be the embodied master, to fly first class, to have a nice home, which you deserve and you know you deserve? But the mind goes back into here, into focus, into itself, looking for the answer. So what do? You say, well, it'll come to me one day. You've just gone further deeper into that pattern, because it's not going to just come to you one day. You're just going to go deeper into it. You might forget about your problem for a little while, but you're not going to resolve it. And again, you're trying to resolve a problem or an issue in your life using old tools, being in focus and using the mind, which is very limited, very, very limited capacity. The mind doesn't think outside of itself. It can't. So the mind is always probing and searching within itself for the answers. And guess what? They're not there. And that's the good news. How do you get out of the mind? You hit the Alt reality button. And then truly stop thinking. Go take a walk. Go climb a mountain if that's what you want. Bake a cake, eat some master balls, whatever it is. You just go through the energetic experience of hitting Alt reality and then get out of your way. The answers will come to you. Maybe not at that moment, but the answer will come, and it will be so unlike what your mind could have thought that you'll at first think you're going crazy. You'll doubt the answer. It won't be an answer like a written text or anything. It's going to be a knowingness, a feeling. Ah, okay. And it's going to kind of come across you like a big, beautiful wave. It's just going to be there. You can use it for anything in your life. It's not magic. It is consciousness. It is consciousness. And that is the attractant. Consciousness will bring you out of this. Because outside of this, that whole wall, the whole room, the whole building, everything is just consciousness. Consciousness is the very thing that is going to allow you, bring you into alternative realities and not human realities. You know, you have your sci-fi shows on TV, science fiction, and it's depicting a different form of human reality, but it's still human bodies, it's still a human mind, it's still human actions, and all the rest of that is just a little extra weirdness thrown in. This is so different. It's not just alt-human, it is truly alt-reality. So different. So let's take a good deep breath. And beginning now, you've got this, you can call it a tool that's always been there. You're coming back into awareness of it. Alt-reality. It's a little, let's call it a button. It's a little trigger within yourself that's not wired into the mind, and will provide you with some sweeping different views. With consciousness, you can create any reality you want, but it's not through the brain, it's not willpower, it's no power whatsoever. You see, even as I'm speaking to you right now, you're here in the physical realm, in time and space, but your consciousness is imagining, dreaming, and creating stories, experiences, very sensual experiences that are not even based in physical reality. You get glimpses of them once in a while in your dream state. We come to this point where it's time to go beyond that matrix, that hypnotic pattern of the mind and of everyday life. So we come back to this point and we allow the alt reality button. It's always been there. It's not new. It was just kind of covered over, hidden. It is truly in your being, this alt reality button. Nothing that you need to strive for or earn. It is your, you could say, your birthright, but it is your creator right to have alt reality. To go beyond duality, to go beyond the old answers to questions in your life. It's free to use, and it's not connected to the brain, and nobody else can use it. It's just yours. By acknowledging it, by allowing it, you realize if you ever get stuck, you just hit that. There's different solutions. There's different perspectives, different realities. And yes, they can intermingle with this reality. Yes, they can. It is not an either or, it is an and. You're not limited to one reality, or even to two. Mind-blowing? Well, yes, it is. But it is so very real, and it's all the result of consciousness. The funny thing is, we're not creating anything new here. We're simply stepping out of very limited focus. That's all we're doing. We're stepping out of that pattern that was shown on the screen. The scepter, it's the lightning rod, you could say, for answers, but it's actually much more than that. But right now, just take hold of the scepter. Feel it. This is yours. What used to be the sword, this is yours. And every time you have one of these big life questions, not the little stuff, but when you have these bigger questions, the questions of what direction to take, where to go, how to move beyond things that might be holding you back, simply call up your scepter. It'll be there, right in your hands. And then ask your question, whatever it may be. So you ask about the job, and what should I do about my job? You ask me this all the time. Now, when you're here in the river and you're holding your scepter and the master is with you also, what you're going to get is not answers. You're not going to get answers. And I know some of you are disappointed and booing me right now, but what you're going to get when you ask that question is wisdom, not answers. And there's a big difference. The difference is in wisdom. When you ask a question, you're holding your scepter, you're in the river, you get wisdom. Wisdom isn't necessarily an answer. And it's not necessarily in words. It comes in a knowingness. And instead of a very specific, local, linear mental answer, you get a big picture. You get a big picture. You feel into how the energies, you want them to serve you. And instead of thinking in linear terms like, well, I'll replace this job for another job. One bad experience and replace it with one maybe not quite as bad. It's going to challenge you and ask you, how do you want to live? And then you feel into that. How do you want to live? And holding the scepter here in the flow of your energy, you already know. You already know how you want to live. And it's not about a job. It's not about, do you have a cubicle or an office? It's not about your paycheck. It's about how you want to live. And the wisdom will guide you to that and ask you to feel into it. And when you do, that's how the energies here in the river, the flow, that's what it responds to. And you take hold of that scepter, you can ask that question. That's fine. You take hold of that scepter. What should my diet be? What should I eat to be healthy? And instead of getting a very specific answer, like saying spinach and cabbage and garlic and things like that, the wisdom is going to put you in touch with your biology. It's going to let you really feel your body. And the wisdom says it doesn't matter, because ultimately all this is your energy, and your energy is always balanced. Unless you start playing games, unless you start creating all these rules and controls and everything else. So humans ask a lot of questions, obsessively. And don't listen to a lot of the answers, even though they're out there, they're in the energy. But we move to the next level. Instead of expecting an answer, allow the wisdom to come. It doesn't necessarily come in words, all spelled out, 22 words or less. It doesn't necessarily come in words. It's often a picture and a feeling. That's the wisdom.